Hi, I'm Michelle Fernandez with Keller Williams in Highlands. Hey everyone, Michelle Fernandez here in Denver, Colorado. So I am starting to host a list of educational videos with regard to real estate. The topic of my series is called Real Estate 101. So first and foremost, thank you so much for joining, taking time out of your day to watch my series of videos. I will discuss the very basics of real estate. So if there's any specific topic that you would like to learn more about, I would be happy to do an educational video. Please send me a private message and I will try to piece some sort of content together. Today, we are going to go over the definitions of working relationships. So if you are thinking about getting involved in a real estate transaction, whether that be as a buyer or a seller, this is a form that you will be required to sign. It has been approved by the Colorado Real Estate Commission, and I know that for compliance purposes, we are required to have this in our files. So we are going to start with the types of agencies. I will kind of just read the definition to you, and then I'll kind of give you scenario for each type of relationship. So if you are working with an agent and maybe you go over this form, you're not clear on what your relationship is, don't be embarrassed to reach out to your agent and just, ask that they go over this form with you or any other form that you may have questions on, as you do also have a due diligence to be of sound mind and know what you're signing. So, starting with the seller's agency. A seller's agent or listing agent solely works on behalf of the seller to promote the interest of the seller with the utmost good faith, loyalty, and fidelity. The agent negotiates on behalf and acts as an advocate for the seller. The seller's agent must disclose to potential buyers all adverse material facts actually known by the seller's agent about the property. A separate written listing agreement is required, which sets forth the duties and obligations of the broker and the seller. So basically, what that means is as a seller's agent, let's just say, for example, I'm representing Jane Doe down the street. She's selling her house. I know some very pertinent material facts about the property, such as the foundation is quite faulty, and let's just say an engineer has gone out, you know, guesstimates that it don't have much longer than a 2-year time frame before the whole house collapse. I do have to disclose that because that is material facts that that could possibly procure the sale of the transaction, or of the property rather. With that being said, going back to the beginning of that paragraph, as a seller's agent, you must work in with regard to promote the interest of the seller. So you must hold your client's interest above your own. You must act with the utmost good faith, loyalty, and fidelity. So, for example, I cannot take Jane on as a client and, let's just say I tell her, I think your home is worth $500,000 just so I can get the sale, when in fact I know it's only worth, let's say, 300,000, because then I'm putting my interest above hers. So it is drawn out in black and white, and as agents, we have a whole list of uniform duties that's a separate form that you would have to sign. So we'll do that in a next video. Okay, moving on to the buyer's agent. A buyer's agent works solely on behalf of the buyer to promote the interest of the buyer with the utmost good faith, loyalty, and fidelity. The agent negotiates on behalf of and acts as an advocate for the buyer. The buyer's agent must disclose to all potential sellers all adverse material facts actually known by the buyer's agent, including the buyer's financial ability to perform the terms of the transaction, and if a residential property, whether the buyer intends to occupy the property. A separate written buyer's agency agreement is required, which sets forth the duties and obligations of the broker and the buyer. So this is basically the same as the definition for the the seller's agent. The buyer's agent must promote the interest of the buyer slash client with the utmost good faith, loyalty, and fidelity. Again, you must uphold the interest of your buyer client above your own. So if there is material fact that I know about the buyer, such as, let's just say they lost their job, they can't actually qualify for the loan, I do have to disclose that, as that could procure the sale, as the buyer may not, be able to qualify for the loan. So anytime you're working with an agent, you should always feel like they're working in your favor, that they are upholding your interest above their own is basically what is required in order to be a licensed agent. Okay, so moving on to the transaction broker. A transaction broker assists the buyer or seller, or both, throughout a real estate transaction by performing terms of any written or oral agreement, fully informing the parties, presenting all offers, and assisting the parties with any contracts, including the closing of the transaction, without being an agent or advocate for any of the parties. A transaction broker must use reasonable skill and care in the performance of any oral or written agreement, and must make the same disclosures as agents about all adverse material facts actually known by the transaction broker concerning a property or a buyer's financial ability to perform the terms of a transaction, and if a residential property, whether the buyer intends to occupy the property, no written agreement is required. Okay, so this type of relationship, it is in many states frowned upon, as sometimes it's referred to as dual agency. So in Colorado, we are not allowed to act as a dual agent. Um, there is a very fine line with regard to, how can you uphold the interest of either client if you're representing both of them. So with a transaction broker type of relationship, which obviously Colorado allows because it's in the Colorado approved form, a transaction broker basically is I like to kind of paraphrase it as the mediator between both parties. So you have no agency toward one party. You're basically representing the transaction. You're, communicating all communications between both the buyer and the seller. Again, if you know something about the property, you must disclose that to the buyer. Same deal if you know that the buyer lost their job, for example, cannot qualify for the loan, you do have an obligation to disclose that to the seller as well. So you are working for the transaction, you are kind of the mediator, the facilitator, and you don't hold a agency title to either party. So moving on to the customer. Okay, so a customer is a party to the real estate transaction with whom the broker has no brokerage relationship because such party has not engaged or employed the broker either as a party's agent or as a party's transaction broker. So basically that would be, an example would be, let's just say I'm hosting an open house. I'm working for the seller. There's the neighbor that she's interested in purchasing the property. However, she's working with another agent, and we communicate about the property. She's asking some questions. She would then be a customer. So I have no obligation to her with regard to agency and such. So that is the very basics of different types of relationships. You will basically sign into agreement with one of these listed relationships if you are involved in a transaction. So if you have any questions, please feel free to send me an inbox or drop a comment below. I would be happy to either jump on a call or just respond back. So thank you again for watching, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and have a great day. Bye.